I don't want it. So are we getting ourselves into that place where we're utilizing that kind of mentality? Are we utilizing that kind of ability inside of ourselves? Are we getting to the place where our focus and our knowledge is there, where our ability inside of ourselves starts to open up? This channel is about bringing you closer to yourself, bringing you closer to your ability to overcome your challenges. Like always, please subscribe to my YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, and podcast as well. Hit that like button, hit that bell notification if need be, depending on the platform, so that you can actually be able to hear my messages on a daily basis. Also, you can reach me at motivationmeditationinspiration.yoga. It's all one word, because that's what we talk about on a daily basis. We talk about our abilities to get through those kind of challenges and to get to that place inside of who we are, where we're overcoming them, where we're putting ourselves through them, where we're focusing to the point where what we got going on we can overcome. And so how do we focus to that point? How do we get to that place? How do we get through those kind of challenges? How do we focus to the point where we're using what we have inside? How do we start to get to that place where we focus to the point where the mentality starts to open up, where the ability inside of you, where the challenges that you face off against, you start overcoming? And so this is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about how we focus past those kinds of challenges. What does it take for you to be you? What does it take for you to get to that place where you utilize you? And so you're welcome to reach out to me there. My phone number is 619-500-2657, or you can actually call in. But I have no idea who this is trying to reach out to me here. I'm just doing my videos. So if you're going to come up to me and actually communicate with me, it's welcome to come. But what I'm trying to say to you is that when we focus to that point where we use what we have inside, when we focus to that point where we use our level of mentality, when we focus to that point where our ability inside of who we are starts to open up, we focus to that point to get through the types of challenges that we're facing off against, where we focus to the point where what we're growing through and what we're going through is overcoming it. Like I said, I already gave my number there. You're welcome to call. So what is it that we're focusing on? What is it that we're focusing through? What is it we're focusing with? Are we on a page where we're using what we have inside? Are we on a page where we're getting our mentality right, where we're getting our ability right, where we're putting ourselves in a place where ability inside of who you are, you're working through. The ability inside of who you are is what you're going through. The ability inside of who you are, you have the ability to overcome those kinds of challenges. And I got to finish my video now, so you got to give all respect to that. So are we putting ourselves in that place to overcome those kind of challenges? Are we giving ourselves that kind of place to overcome that kind of mentality, to overcome that kind of ability? And are we giving ourselves that kind of place to focus to that point inside of who we are, to focus to that point inside of what we're going through, what we're facing off against? And so what does it take inside of you? What does it take for you? What does it take to go beyond your challenges? To go to the point inside of who you are, to go to the point inside of your mentality. And so are we focusing to that point? Are we putting ourselves on that page? Are we going through those kind of challenges? And so are we focusing to the ability inside of who we are? Are we focusing to the ability inside of what we want to achieve? And so have we asked ourselves this question? And have we gotten to the point where we're focusing to that level of mentality, where we're focusing to that level of ability, where we're putting ourselves in a place where we utilize what we have on the inside? And so when we are willing to grind, like I was saying, on multiple networks, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and Instagram. And so how do we focus to that point where we're using what we got going on? And I'm telling you, I've been grinding on this thing for quite some time. I've been working through this kinds of things for a while, and I'm telling you, I'm here. to uplift people. I'm here to bring things closer to the ability to overcome challenges. Okay? So when we get to the place inside of who we are, where we're focused past our challenges, where we utilize what we have inside, when we utilize the ability inside of who we are, when we utilize that level of focus, where that knowledge comes out, where that ability inside of you starts to open up, then you start to realize what I'm talking about. It's when you start to use your mentality. It's when you start to use your ability. It's when you start to use your challenges and you start to overcome them for yourself. And so at this point, I want to talk a little bit about what goes on inside. Okay, I want to start to get into the inwards grind. And so when we get through the challenges that we're going through, we get through the things that we're facing off against, when we get through the part of what we're looking at, when we get to that place of mentality, where we get to that place of ability inside of who we are, where we believe in ourselves. Okay, you got to believe in your dreams, you got to believe in your goals, you got to believe on your being that you got what it takes. And I'm telling you, when you get to that page where it doesn't matter what somebody says, what you focus through, you have the ability to get through. When you focus to that level where the ability vibrates outwards, that's when people call you motivation. Okay, so when we look to that point where we are ready or on that page, and that's where we start to look to that point inside of ourselves. We start to look to that point inside of our beings. We start to look to that point inside of our vibrations. It starts to open up. The universe starts to hear your words. And I can tell you, no matter what somebody tries to say or somebody tries to do, it won't change that. And so, what are we focusing on? What are we focusing through? What are we focusing with? And I've already told you that I'm going to be continuing to do this until I'm done with this, and that you're welcome to call afterwards. So if we're putting ourselves in that kind of place, if we're putting ourselves in that kind of ability, if we're using that kind of mentality, and so how do we get through those kind of challenges? How do we get through those kinds of things inside of who we are, where we use what we have, where we use what we got inside, where we use what we have to overcome our challenges? And so are we focusing through that type of thing? And when you start to get inwards, when you truly start to get inwards, when you start to go to that inwards grind, okay, you're going to start to see the challenges that you face off against and that you have faced off against, you can overcome. And when we're focusing to that point where we don't allow things to stop our mentality, where we don't allow things to take us from our place of our ability, when we put ourselves in a place where we utilize what we have inside of who we are, that's when stuff starts to happen, okay? It's when I sat in a sauna for 1 hour. It's when I sat in the sauna for 5 hours, okay? You know, a lot of people thought that. And you know what happened? When I was in there, there was a guy over almost 400 pounds sitting in there. He started joking, okay? He started to say this joke. And you know what I said? I said, if you think that you can last as long as me in here, you don't have the willpower to, okay? And he looked back at me and he said, you know what? You're stronger here. Because you know what? I've been doing this for over a year. I've been at this thing for some time. I've been at this thing for such an ability. I've been at this thing for such a mentality. You can go back and you can watch my videos. You can watch the things that I've been through. You can watch the challenges that I've faced off against. And guess what? This is my story, okay? These challenges that I faced off against, these things that I went through, have given me the ability to be right here, right now. Okay, so when we focus to that point, where you take what you got inside, where you take what you have inside of who you are, and it's not when somebody says that you're doing this perfect or that perfect or not. It's when you truly grind on that level. And I'm starting to see that from other places. Okay, I have people on YouTube that are over 300 minutes of view time. Okay, I have over 91 followers. I have people from almost every country in the world viewing my website. I have people from all over the place getting through those kind of challenges. And so how do we get to that point inside of who we are? How do we get to that point where we focus to that ability, where we focus through those kind of challenges, where we put ourselves on that kind of page, where we utilize that level of self. So you got to want things in life more than anybody else. You got to want it for yourself. You got to want what you have inside of you. You got to want to focus to the point where it takes your ability to overcome your challenges. And see, a lot of people start wanting to seek you out. They want to seek out your mentality. They want to seek out your ability inside of who you are. They want to seek out your ability inside of your being. They want to seek out your ability inside of your mentality. And so, this is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about how we start getting inwards to that point. How do you start to get down to that point where you see all angles, where you start to see all parts of this journey, where you start to see all parts of this path? And I want you to see that you can do that too. You can achieve that light inside of you. You can achieve that light inside of your being. You can achieve that light inside of your purpose, your journey. But you got to be enjoying you. You got to enjoy your path. You got to enjoy your purpose. You got to enjoy what you're going through and what you're flowing through. And that's where the karma starts to cut itself off and starts to no longer affect you. Because when you know who you are on the inside, I know that I'm a son of the Most High God, and I declare that. I declare that you are a blessing in this universe, that you're listening to this message and it is uplifting you, that it's putting you in such a way that you start to see that you can do what it takes, that you can see it, you can do what it is to become, that you can see and do it what it takes to overcome. And so, how do you get there? What does it take to overcome those kind of challenges for you? What does it take to overcome those kind of things that would stop you? And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about believing in yourself. I'm talking about knowing yourself. I'm talking about becoming who you are on the inside. I'm talking about other people on the core knowing that you are so focused that you are hot like gold. You see, when they take gold, they got to purify it. They got to remove the impurities so that you can be who you are on the inside. You see, when they take gold and they fan that focus, they fan that heat, they take that compression and they decompress it, what comes out is gold. And I'm telling you, we are gold. We are a part of this universe. We are something that's a part of this golden law of 90. And so when we use that gold that we got inside, when we find a way to utilize what we are going through, what we're focusing on, what we're putting ourselves to the ability to overcome. So what are we focusing on? What are we focusing through? What are we focusing with? And what are we focusing to become? So if we're manifesting our being, if we're manifesting our focus, if we're manifesting our understanding, and so are we utilizing our ability inside of who we are? Are we utilizing our ability inside of our mentality? Are we utilizing our ability inside of what we're facing off against and what we're going through? And so are we focusing to that point where we go through the challenges that we are facing off against today? How do you do that for yourself? And so what are we going through today? What does it take to overcome your challenges? What does it take to overcome your person inside of who you are? And so are you focusing to that point? Are you utilizing that level of mentality? Are you utilizing that level of ability from who you are on the inside? And so how do we utilize this place of mentality? How do we utilize this ability? How do we utilize this knowledge, this discipline, this ability inside of who we are? So are we focusing to that point where we focus through those kind of challenges? And so are we focusing to the point where we're utilizing that level of ability? Are we focusing to that point where we're utilizing that level of mentality? And so what are we focusing on today? What are we focusing through? What are we becoming? What are we lighting up in this universe? What a blessing it is to have those kinds of challenges. What a blessing it is to have that kind of ability. What it is to have that blessing of that kind of mentality, of that kind of focus, of that kind of knowledge. And so are we focusing beyond the challenges? Are we focusing beyond the things that would stop us? And so when we go inwards, when we focus to the point where we're using what we have, when we're focusing to the point where we're using what we got inside, what we're using is our inside of our mentalities, inside of our abilities, inside of who we are. And so how do you focus past those kind of challenges? How do you get to that place inside of yourself? How do you get to that point inside of who you are, where you believe in who you are? And so when we're using that level of knowledge, when we're using that level of focus, when we're using that level of being, when we're using that level of vibration. So what is it that you're facing off against today? What is it that you're focusing on right now? What is it that your knowledge is opening up? What is it that your mentality is starting to overcome? And so are we focused to that point? Are we putting ourselves on that page? Are we putting ourselves in that level of mentality, on that level of ability, that level? And so, like I said earlier, you already got the number. So if you want to call me, call me. But continuing messages like that is not going to help. So if we're putting ourselves on that kind of page, if we're putting ourselves on that kind of ability, if we're putting ourselves on that kind of mentality, if we're putting ourselves on that kind of reflection, if we're putting ourselves on that kind of understanding, then we got to utilize what we got inside of ourselves. We got to utilize what we have within ourselves.